Hey guys, it's Dan back with another Doomtown Reloaded video, 2 in 1 week. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I'll try and maintain this pace, get one out as often as I can for you. A few things to go through with this one. I've got a fan card I want to show you. Not my card, it was designed by one of the UK players. Comment on the gadget deck, the Quarterman deck I did when I was going through the folders. He sits in my folder in the front page and somebody wanted to know what it was, so I'll show you him in a second. I've got an OP kit too, the one with the Lane Healy mat. If you haven't seen the cards or the tin that comes with that, we finally got those in Europe now. Thank you, Devium, for staying on top of the ball with that one. You've really done us proud. And I've also got a copy of Frontier Justice. Hurrah! Also finally in the UK. There we go. We'll go through those cards as well afterwards. So, starting with the fan card. So this chap here, by the name of Zeb McAllister. He is a fan creation by a chap called Des Lambert. He's one of the UK players. He's really cool, actually. Des created this before Jake Smiley existed. He has a very similar ability. The concept behind him being that he's quite cheap. He costs 2. He's got 3 influence, and you have to discard him at the end of Sundown. So he's effectively 3 influence in turn 1, which is really good for keeping you in the game if your big guy gets kidnapped, or if a shootout goes horribly wrong. You've still got influence to run around and try and stay in the game at least one turn and force it through to try and regain some semblance of balance. He kind of does what Jake ended up doing, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that it's come from a fan who really had no idea Jake was arriving. It's very, very similar. I happened to mention in the conversation, not knowing that Des had created this, that it was my favourite fan card that I'd seen from Reloaded. And he happened to have some on him and he gave one to me. So he sits in my folder, regrettably unplayable in tournaments, but he is a very cool little guy. And I said I'd show him that. So there he is, old Zeb. On to the OP kit. Comes with 2 different cards. We get an action and a deed in a standard kit. The action, which goes to the most players, it's the I think 16 copies of this, 20 copies of this, is the Stakes Just Rose. Has some very odd artwork for coming into a fight. It's looks like it could have easily been a hiding in shadows, but it's pretty cool artwork anyway. Think that's Ivor doing something nefarious, that young lady there. Take that as you want. Pretty good artwork. I like it. It's definitely cool. And I do use stakes in my deck, so having extra copies of these is also going to be quite useful. And we've also got alternate art for the Circle M Ranch, which has got Lillian there, showing our dear departed Wilbur Crowley around the Circle M Ranch with a wonderful mutant cattle there. I want to see more stuff with these cows. Seriously, Teenage Mutant Ninja Mutant Cattle. Make it a thing. So that's the 2 cards, and the gorgeous, gorgeous Lane Healy mat, which I'm sure you've all seen on the Facebook page. It's been out there for quite a while. The US guys got these kits in pretty early, and that's him there. Right, coolest thing in the box for me, being a Law Dog player at heart, is the Law Dog tin. There we go. Comes with the faction symbol on the top and the sides, and comes with Big Dave. Dave being the man there, and Wendy on the other side. I mean, who really could you have put on the tin there, on those 2 sides? Absolutely cracking tin. Sadly not mine. I have to give this away. Hopefully I will win one at some point. If I don't and you have a spare, come find me. That is it. We'll get the Frontier Justice cards together. Cool. We'll use the nice new Lane Healy mat as the background for this one, and we'll go through them card by card, and some really, really cool bits and pieces. They have already been spoiled already. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen them, but I'll add my thoughts and different combos and things you can do, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, now Frontier Justice. So 21 new cards and a reprint of a core set card with updated wording. We'll start with the reprint. It's unprepared. It's just got the newer wording where the first clause being choose a dude so that it can always be fulfilled. So it's quite cool. I love the precedent that AEG is setting with this, that if a card does need rewording or retemplating, we'll get copies. So I would imagine if we ever see any other technical errata or major overhauls to wording, we'll probably see those down the line as well. So this is a fantastic thing they're doing. Goes in the box, doesn't detriment the box in any way. We still get 21 new ones, and we get 4 copies of a replacement. So fantastic job. Old Rack are doing really, really well with the game, and I love the direction they're taking it with everything they're doing. This is really, really cool. Okay, on to the actual card. So we'll start with Funtime Freddy. I don't think there's really much I can say about this. I got to spoil this card. I do have a video. If you haven't seen it, please do flick through them. Go and have a look at what we've got to say about Funtime Freddy there. It's pretty funky. One of the questions that did come up is exactly what is he holding? It's a carnival mask. It's his disguise. So obviously we know that either he's making sure his abominations aren't out there in the public. Freddy's approach to this is to disguise himself as himself. Which is quite genius. I quite like that. It's a fun little joke there. So that's it there. Carnival mask for Freddy. Second of the fourth ring, guys, is the Flying Popescu's. A Huckster 0. Nice and cheap. No upkeep. Always a good thing to see. 1 influence. Also really good to see on a 0 upkeep card, so we can get them into play and do stuff. They get bonus influence for having hexes attached. You have to attach 2. If only we had a way to go and find hexes to give to them. But there they are, the Pescus. They also, if I have the mystical goods, can become a stud. Not many mystical goods at the moment in the Huckster side of things. You've got Doyle's Hoyle is one option, a few other bits and pieces. I think the biggest mystical goods, I think, doing the rounds really in usefulness and like all-round awesome factor is the Holy Wheelgun. But I would imagine as and when we see more mystical cards coming out, these guys will become more and more useful. And if there's anything that comes in with them that works well, it'll be a very good synergy to have some guaranteed to turn on that stud ability. Okay, so having established in the previous video I did with Freddy, it looks like we are definitely getting a grifter for every single faction. This is our Law Dog. Really cool nod to the Gamorazet guys there. So that's also, again, AEG doing us a nice little solid for the fans, having that there for Andrew reading. He's really cool. I love Andrew. He's amazing. He's blessed 0, so he's got some utility there. We can give him some spells, but his grift ability, his boot at the start of the game is just awesome. You boot Burton, discard a card to draw a card. So he's kind of like a mini Gina. You can filter your hands slightly, and then you get to add a bounty to any player's dude. Now, while Law Dogs can add bounty very, very easily with their home, booting out a lot of influence. Say you want to bounty up a 3 influence guy, a 4 influence guy, or if Lillian is bizarrely being started in the opposing posse, she's going to be really hard to stick a bounty on to hit her with a bounty hunter or anything else. This is just here, have a bounty, have done with it. There you go, you're now wanted. He's also a deputy. It's nice we're seeing some more deputy synergy here. So I think he's going to go in a lot of Law Dogs decks. I'm very, very excited to try this guy in all of mine because he's on value. I run an ace value Law Dog deck, so he's blatantly going to go in there immediately. The second of the Law Dogs guy is actually some bounty support. Elmore Rhyme has a noon boot action. Choose another dude. Another player's dude, specifically, at a deed they do not own. So he's kind of Androcles Brocklehurst territory. Your opponent's guy has to be on one of your deeds, and you gain Ghost Rock equal to their bounty. Potentially not quite as good as Androcles, because he's going to take a while to build up. You need to get a lot of bounty on somebody to really get the most use out of him. However, that being said, with Desolation Row running around at the moment and doing quite well in tournaments, you're probably going to see a lot of those decks. There's going to be quite a few Sloan characters with 2 bounty pretty quickly, and that does pay for his upkeep of 2 just by himself. He's also 3 influence. It's a pretty heavy influence guy for Law Dogs, especially at just a 6 cost. I think he's going to have a home in a lot of different decks. The Morgan Grifter. So there we are. There's all 4 now, isn't it? Yes, all 4 factions have their Grifter now. The Howard Aswell Grifter, he's a mad scientist, so cool, once again, has the support for a faction-specific keyword. Well, it's not specific, but a keyword they're heavily involved in, let's go with that. So that's quite good for them. 2 draws quite nice, especially for his nice cheap cost. So he's got plenty of bullets to be able to do stuff with. And he's also got an interesting grift. I don't think it's as strong as, say, Burton or Freddy. It's probably on par with the Fixer's ability. I say that the Fixer has a grab ability from your discard pile, very similar to Howard's. Howard lets you, if you don't have a deed in your hand, show your hand. You can mill 10 cards and put a ranch or improvement into your hand. So it's more specific than the Fixer, but he's very easy to keep in play because he has 0 upkeep. Where the Fixer has a very, very powerful grab ability, he's also very expensive to keep on the table. But Howard's really cool, and you know, if you can mill over a Blake Ranch in the start of the game, so you know that's coming out of turn one, that sets you up for your economy pretty well. Louis Pasteur. I've done a deck with Louis. I think he's amazing. He is expensive for what he does. However, I do think it's justified. Just for the 2 influence alone and being a stud, he's awesome. But that ability on his card there lets you stand anybody up by passing a check of effectively pulling an 8, because he's a mad scientist to stand up any one of your dudes at his or an adjacent location is really, really good. There's going to be a lot of stuff you can do there with him. Say the silly deck with Mario and the Force Field springs to mind, having built it. But just anything else. I mean, so the core Morgan home, for example, I boot Irving, as most core Morgan decks do, play my deed, and Irving's problem then is he gets picked on. Somebody moves over and calls him out. But now you've got Louis, they move to town square, you use Louis, stand up the guy who made the deed for cheap, and then when they move in, where they would normally call out Irving, Irving can bugger off. It's awesome. So lots of really cool stuff you can do with this guy. Sloan next. Benny McGill is a cheap little huckster for Sloan, so a bit more huckster support for those guys, or sluckster, as the phrase has been coined for the deck build now. He's nice and cheap. He does the job. He's pretty cool though. I mean, he doesn't necessarily need to cast his spells. He's got a really cool boot a hex ability. It lets him call out anybody with a higher bullet rating, and that's going to be a lot of dudes since his bullet rating is 1. I think finding synergy with him to do really cool stuff is going to be key. I think there'll be some very innovative decks running Benny around. I haven't seen much shouting and screaming about Benny since the set was spoiled, and I'm guessing someone sat on a deck somewhere waiting to destroy, and I look very eagerly looking forward to see what they're going to do with that. And Marion Seville, experienced Marion, knife guy extraordinaire, and another solid dude. 1 upkeep, nice and cheap to keep on the table, 2 influence, 3 bullets, everything you want on a Sloan guy, really. If he's got a melee weapon, you can make him a stud simply by having it, and you can boot the weapon. You can boot a weapon in an opposing posse. So if you're on the play, if you're taking the first action, if you have a Pearly's Palace, you can wreck an opposing shotgun, you can wreck an opposing legendary holster. There's lots of things you can do. Not much in the way of melee weapon support at the moment. I think we've just got the Evernoor rolling around. I imagine we're going to get some more of those down the line. And so I say, as soon as we get something nice and cheap, we can give him with a more broad ability than the Evernoor gives us. I think we'll see him seeing a lot of play as well. We have 1 Drifter in this pack. J.W. Byrne. I love this guy. This guy is so good. He's in the similar vein of Chuan Gen Ki from Morgan, in that when you give him certain stuff, he gets buffed. So if he gets a weapon, he gets a bullet. If he gets an attire, he gets an influence. And when he gets a horse, he gets an upkeep. So basically, if you give him a gun, a hat, and a horse, he is a 2 stud, 1 influence, 0 upkeep guy for 3. And then depending on which attire, which gun, and which horse you've given him, he's also got 3 extra abilities. So lots and lots of stuff you can do with him. Very easily to start him for 3 and just 1 upkeep. In a gadget deck, he'd be amazing. Give him a mechanical horse to get him moving around, a holy wheel gun or an auto revolver. Really gives him some options. So I love what he does here. I think it's a fantastic little card. That's just the dudes. That's all we get for the dude side of things. Deeds next. Shane and Graves Security. Again, a really awesome ability on a deed. It's on an odd value on 5, which is quite cool. You don't see many 5 decks running around at the moment. This should hopefully kind of make people look at them as a decent value to play. It's nice and cheap to get on the board, and has, I say, a cracking ability. Make a token, put it in the fight. So as a shootout action, add a 2 stud guy, but not just at this deed, or any adjacent deed. It is adjacent deed, so you can't whack one into town square or put one in your home, but it has got a lot of utility. An extra guy there in the fight, for a start, is 2 stud, which is good, but he's also a body, so if you do lose, you've got a token to get rid of. So very, very cool. I'm probably going to start running these in a couple of my decks and see what legwork I can get out with them. The Gomorrah Jail is the other deed of 2 deeds we get. Has this funky core thing, which lets us start it in play. And yeah, we've seen this already. It was spawned in a story, again, a cracking piece of fiction, and it's got lots of really cool stuff you can do. It's basically control points on a stick. It lets us, when we discard a guy who's wanted, which is very easy to do out of a Lord Dogs deck, make people wanted, we get a control point. So you could feasibly start this in play with very few deeds in deck. As long as you've got a way of reliably discarding wanted guys, you could win out the game just with the jail. So that's quite cool. There's actually a goods in here that goes with this very well. We'll come to that in a second, which lets you basically sit on it and defend it quite easily as well, which is quite nice. A couple of goods next. We get a mighty 5 goods in this saddlebag. We get the Diable en boîte, a devil in a box, which is a demonic jack in a box from the fair. As you can see, you've got Ivor Hawley down there, a bit of flavour text. It's odd. It's nice and cheap. It's 0 cost. It's difficulty 2. It's pretty much always going to pull itself, so it means you can run low value gadgets. I don't think it's what low value gadgets needs right now. It's got an interesting ability. It's a I win when I lose ability. So if the dude with Jack in the Box is aced or discarded in a shootout, not just as a casualty, mind you, so if he's holstered, shotgunned, or any other variety of nefarious way they've got getting really good guy, you can send a guy home booted and draw a card. I think possibly it might have been slightly better if it could probably do something more fearsome than send a guy home. But drawing a card once you've lost a guy and also getting a guy out of the shootout is potentially pretty good. We'll see. I'm sure there's a deck out there that run this. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably on my list of things I want to try and play with, and I'll see how I get on with that. If I do come up with something awesome, I will obviously let you guys know. Legal Instruments is a fantastic little deed upgrade. It's an improvement, so it goes on a deed. Attaches to an in-town deed you control, so crucially it's in-town and one that you control. However, it answers one of my biggest problems with starting my Lord Dog lineup. My traditional Lord Dog lineup in most games is 3 ace value guys and a 2 value guy and a 3 value guy, which means all 5 of my guys can be killed by a shotgun very, very easily. Pretty much anybody with a shotgun can take out half my starting posse, and this irks me a lot. It's very hard to play around. However, Legal Instruments is amazing because all of your deputies get +3 value. So we mentioned Andrew Burton, the new grifter. He's a deputy, so he immediately goes up to a 4 value and can't be shotgunned straight away, which is obviously quite nice. And they all get +2 influence as well. So pop out a Legal Instruments on your jail, which we had just a second ago. It gives you plenty of influence to not lose the game with, keeps you in the game nice and easily by stacking deputies on the jail. And as long as you've got ways of getting people to get into fights with wanted guys and get them discarded, you could feasibly win out in the game. I don't think it's going to be top tier, but it's definitely giving you an alternate way to go about winning, which is always a good thing. I like alternate win conditions. I think they're good for the game, and it makes you explore different avenues of deck building. We have a recursive motion machine as a gadget. It's cool. It goes with Quaterman quite easily. If the dude's a gadget, so if it's Quaterman, he gets -1 upkeep, which is cool. Makes him free. It's 0 cost for us, so just pop it out on him. We don't have to pay upkeep for Quaters anymore, which is quite nice. And when you move the dude it's attached to, you can put a Ghost Rock on the card, and then you can use the Ghost Rock on it to pay for abilities on gadgets. So you could stack it with a Mechanical Horse. So when you move a Mechanical Horse, you'll get a cash back. So it makes it slightly more efficient to run the horse. You can pay for a teleportation device, so you can move in, generate a cash, use that cash to teleport to get somewhere else. Lots and lots and lots of really cool stuff you can do with it. I say the strongest option I think at the moment is putting on Robocop, but there are obviously lots of other things that you can do. The 2 other goods we have are the Winchester, model 1873. I really like the Winchester. It's fantastic. It's 1 cash for 1 bullet. That alone, if you're running 6s, which with the new deputy tech you probably are, because you can now run faster on the draw reliably with enough deputies,
why wouldn't you just pay 1 cash to give a guy a bullet? That not only that, but it has the ability to make them a stud. So you could put this on a stud guy. Let's say you put this on, oh, I don't know, Abram. Let's put on Abram Growth. He's 2 stud. He now becomes 3 stud. If you get sun in your eyes, that drops him down to a draw. Oh, yeah, quick, boot the Winchester. He's now a stud again. Hurrah! Brilliant. I love it. I think it's going to see a lot of play, and it's definitely going to go in my deputy deck. I think it's a fantastic card. Fancy new hat. It's an attire, and yes, you can wear 4 fancy new hats. It's a wonderful little piece of fan fiction somebody wrote on Facebook concerning Mr. Mortimer Parsons and his hat fascination. I sincerely suggest you check it out. It's definitely worth a read. A little bit light-hearted and lots of fun. However, that being said, the card itself is amazing. It makes you immune to Blood Curse, a variety of influence-reducing abilities, to be fair. It's awesome. So you can't be rumoured, can't be hustinged. It's worth pointing out, if the effect of rumours, hustings, blood curse, etc. already exists on your dude when you give them a hat, it doesn't negate it. It just stops further reductions happening. However, at the end of the turn, when those effects stop working, it will work again. So the hat's in place. It can't then be re-husting. So you can leave home, grab your hat, come back to your outfit, and you'd be immune to the husting. So there are ways to get around it. So really, really good utility card. Definitely something we've needed. There's been a rise in influence reduction. There's even one in this saddlebag as well, so it's good that we've got some way of fending that off. We have a couple of miracles coming up next. We have Confession. Really, really cool spell this. I really like it. So it's got 2 abilities, both new. The difficulty 6 one lets you give out bounty, so equal to your blessed skill. So immediate, awesome support for Blessed in Law Dogs for dishing out bounty. Having mentioned earlier that the more ways we have to give wanted out, better and better our bounty tech and wanted tech is going to become. So that's really good. Put it on a Blessed 2 guy, you're chucking out 2 bounty at a time. That being said, we'll come back to it in a second. There's a really cool thing you can actually do with this card. We have the second ability of transfer a bounty from a dude to your stash. So it lets you kind of unwanted your guys if they've got 1 bounty. He's a good answer to Andrew Burton, for example. You start the game with a bounty, your first action is play Confession, your second action, I'll have that cash and I'll spend it. So definitely a strong card for Law Dogs. Let's put these down a second. The really, really cool thing you can do with this is with a Blessed in your Sloan deck. Let's say you ran Desolation Row and you put a couple of Blessed in. You can run Desolation Row with your Sloan guy, who will then get 2 bounty. And then you'll do the job and hopefully succeed. You make some money, you come back. But then you can give more bounty out with Confessions. So you can get that 1 control point. That bit on Desolation Row says if you have 4 bounty, you have a control point. Confessions are a really good way of upping that bounty. Very, very efficient out of a Sloan deck if you choose the right couple of Blessed guys to go in there. So I really like it. Lots of really cool stuff you can do with this. Shield of Faith is our other miracle. This, again, I think this is the card that's Blessed needed. Blessed out of Faith and Fear were a lot of fun, but I don't think they had the tools to make them top tier. This evens the playing field really, really well. It's only difficulty 7, so it pulls itself, which is really nice, and a lot of the other miracles will also make it. And it's just awesome. Dudes cannot be aced or discarded during this shootout except as a casualty or due to your own card abilities or traits. You can't be shotgunned, you can't be soul blasted, you can't be legendary holstered. That you can't do anything to my dudes except send them home. No prattling about, no shooting my guys. I think with the rise in Desolation Row shotgun and legendary holster decks, Shield of Faith is a definite starting point for any Blessed deck. The first 4 cards, if you know you're going to be playing against Desolation Row, should be these. Stops it working flat out. Also, even though it doesn't stop casualties from happening, it does reduce your casualties by 1. So it does give you a little bit of breathing room. Fantastic card. What Blessed need to be competitive straight out of the box. And I'm glad they've got it really early. On to actions next, with 3 actions in Saddlebag, last 3 cards. Rope and Ride. There has already been talk about the fantastic combination of Rope and Ride with Bounty Hunter. Rope and Ride, it's a react. After a dude accepts your call-out, a call-out, not a job, you have to call them out, they have to accept, but before posses are formed, you can boot the leader of your posse, or the guy who did the call-out effectively, or their attached horse, cool support for horse tech, to move your guy and the guy you called out to an adjacent location that is not your home, and then boot the mark. It's great. So Andrew Burton makes you wanted at the start of the game. If I win low ball and I have this and a bounty hunter in hand, I can bounty hunter your guy at home and then drag him into the town square. Which means if you want to posse up and defend him, you're going to have to boot out at the start of the turn to come and stop me. Against a Sloan running alley hensman, what better way is there to start the game against an alley hensman deck than grabbing him and beating her senseless in turn 1? It's brilliant. There are a lot of other things. Like you can boot a horse to do it, which is really cool because it means you can keep your guy unbooted, and lots of support there for horses coming, which is quite cool. And you also got the other sort of horse cards that kind of on value with each other, which give us a nice little deck to play around with. But I think definitely the strong combo there, the one that everybody gravitated towards really early, was one with Bounty Hunter. However, I am expecting to see this in a lot of decks, even without it, simply because it allows you to control shootouts a lot more favourably in your position. Other actions in the set. Incubation, another illness card. So let's have a look and see what this one does. It's a condition, so we can attach it to a dude. As a noon action, we can attach it to a booted dude at their home, and it gives them -1 bullets, -1 influence, -3 value, and the ability to get rid of it, so they can get better. And they can boot their guy to discard the incubation. It's 2 cash, it's a little bit expensive for an action, however, has really good synergy with, say, Hustings. You play Hustings, gives everybody unbooted at home -1 influence. So normally at this point, people are going to run off to their adjacent deeds and come back, so they come back booted. That's pretty cool. As soon as they do, pay 2 cash, give them -1 influence anyway. And next turn, if they want to get their influence back, they're going to have to boot out to discard the incubation, which means they can't do anything useful, like come and contest your deeds. This is really, really good. I expect to see this in a lot of top-tier decks, doing a variety of different things for different people. It's definitely a strong card, and keep your eye out for it. If you go into a tournament, you are going to run into these. And then the first card, I believe, that was spoiled from the pack way back when they first started getting spoiled is Flight of the Leapoos. Little antlered bunny rabbits. Look at them, aren't they cute? Really good cheating resolution effect. It's a shootout ender, effectively. If your opponent cheats, you can send 2 guys home. So they can be one of their guys, one of your guys, both of your guys, both of their guys, any combination of 2 guys, which is really cool. So if you can get rid of, if they've only sent 2 guys in, you can get rid of them both, end the shootout, no casualties, job's a good one. You can also, if you didn't cheat, choose an additional dude. So in, like, say, a slide deck, for example, that's going to get beat on by a posse being formed up of 2-3 guys, really, really solid option for slide to keep their guy alive. Send all 3 guys that came to get you home, and your guy survives. So especially if it's a shootout, because you can then boot them. It's worth pointing that the booting only affects in the shootout. However, it can be used in low ball. You can just move people home. I mean, if you're out of position and they cheat in low ball, you can bring your guys home because it doesn't boot you. So that you say you're on out of town deeds, you've gone to cripple their economy, you've done that, but you need to get them back now. And rather than have to boot yourself to come all the way back into town, if they've cheated in low ball, you can bring 2 of your guys home, and they don't boot, so they can go out and do other stuff. So there are other things you can do with this other than have it as the massive defensive card it is. So have a look around that, have some playing around, and see what you come up with. But say, lots and lots of really cool cards in this pack. A variety of different values as well, which is quite nice. So pretty much, I think we've covered all our bases in this one. I don't think, is there a jack? There is a jack. Leapoos is a jack. There we go. So pretty much one of each value, which is quite nice. So lots of support across the board for lots of different archetypes, lots of different values. That's the Frontier Justice pack. I will attempt to do another video possibly next week. I am away this weekend at the Birmingham UK Games Expo. I will, in fact, be playing Doomtown on the Sunday. There are, I think, 2 spaces left. So if you happen to find yourself in Birmingham at the weekend on Sunday and you want something to do, there is a deputy event happening. All the details are on the UK Facebook group, so please do pass by and let us know you want to come down, and we'll see what we can do for you. And if you are there and already booked, I will see you there. Yes, I will probably be running Law Dogs. Before anybody asks, I might run 4th Ring, or let's face it, really, you're probably going to turn up at 9:45 and I'm going to be sat in a corner building a deck. Yeah, that's happening. Anyway, I will see you Sunday if you're there. If not, I will have another video for you next week.